Her father, Pat Musi, was a respected engine builder, and she grew up learning the ropes in his shop. That early start shaped her into a fearless drag racer who made her own mark in the sport. She became known on Street Outlaws, No Prep Kings, where she raced with speed and the determination to stand out in a field dominated by men. However, her journey took a painful turn in April 2023 when she announced that she had stage 4 breast cancer. Doctors found that the cancer had already spread to her lymph nodes and liver. As months passed, her condition grew worse. She sought treatments in different places, including Germany, but her body grew weaker. Unfortunately, Lizzie passed away on June 27, 2024. Her father confirmed the heartbreaking news on Facebook. He asked fans to keep them in their prayers and to give them privacy while they mourned. Lizzie's death hit hard because she was young, talented, and still had so much to give. While her time on Earth was short, she left behind a story that will continue to inspire racers and fans for years to come. But Lizzie wasn't the only one who paid the ultimate price on the show. Cali Nate did too. Nathan Shaldock, also known as Cali Nate, was a fearless racer who carved out a place for himself on Street Outlaws, No Prep Kings, and fastest in America. His Mustang, nicknamed My Little Pony, made him a force to reckon with on the racing scene. He embraced racing from his teenage years, and he successfully built a reputation for himself in the industry. However, on the night of April 6, 2024, Nate lined up in Eagle Pass, Texas, for what would become his final race. The crowd gathered as engines roared, but midway through the run, tragedy struck. His car, the Z unit, lost control after drifting over a rough patch in the road. At the high speed he was driving, the car began to spin. Within seconds, the Z unit swerved and crashed at full force. The impact was devastating. Although Nate had followed safety protocol and wore a helmet, the force of the crash was so severe that it offered little protection. A day after the tragic incident, Nate's longtime girlfriend, Courtney Maria Paulshock, confirmed his death on her official Facebook page. The racing community mourned deeply. Fans from across the country sent prayers and messages of support, remembering him as a talented racer who gave everything to the sport. Speaking of talented racers, Ryan Fellows was another talented racer who lost his life in 2022. But before we get into the full details, let's get to know a few things about him. You see, Ryan was a devoted husband, father, and businessman who carried a lifelong love for cars. Away from the track, he ran businesses that helped fund his passion. However, tragedy struck in early August 2022 while Ryan was filming a race near Las Vegas. The competition was being held on a straight stretch of road that had been closed for the show. That night, Ryan lined up in his gold Nissan 240Z to push for victory. As he neared the finish line, he suddenly lost control. Witnesses said the vehicle rolled over multiple times before coming to a stop. Moments later, flames engulfed the wreck. Despite efforts to save him, Ryan died at the scene. News of his passing spread quickly, shocking fans and colleagues alike. Discovery Channel released a statement saying the Street Outlaws family was heartbroken and extended their sympathy to Ryan's loved ones. While racers like Nate and Fellows paid the ultimate price on the track, others like Wayne Smazanic were taken by health complications. Wayne spent most of his time around the roar of engines before his passing. From monster trucks to drag strips, he carried his passion for racing wherever he went. On the show, fans came to know him as the man behind the bright Ford probe called Tropical Thunder. With his smile and love for competition, Wayne became a force in the pits and a name respected on the track. But in December 2021, his fight shifted from racing to survival when he contracted the viral disease that shook the world in 2019. Through January 2022, Wayne fought with everything he had. Friends and fans prayed, holding on to every small update his wife shared. Weeks turned into months, and by February, his body could no longer recover. On February 12, 2022, Wayne passed away in the hospital, leaving his family and fellow racers in shock. His wife Wendy shared the heartbreaking news, writing that her husband was gone, but his legacy would live on. Messages poured in from fellow racers who spoke of his kindness and the way he treated everyone like family. On No Prep Kings Season 5, his teammates paid tributes by racing in his honor and keeping his spirit alive. When Christopher Ellis, also known as Kentucky, joined Street Outlaws, many thought he was a racer. However, that was not the case. He was not a driver, but a mechanic and fabricator who often appeared on the show. You see, Kentucky grew up around cars, and his hands-on skills made him a valued part of the racing family. Behind the scenes, he played an important role. He was found unresponsive at his home in Oklahoma City. Reports later confirmed that his death was caused by an OD, which was a bit shocking. The news of his passing spread quickly, and the Street Outlaws community was left stunned. Friends and fellow cast members remembered him as the man who could make people laugh while turning wrenches and keeping the cars ready for the street. Not many know this, but Tyler Gene Priddy, known to fans as Flip, was one of the original faces of Street Outlaws. But not just that, he was among the first racers who believed in the show, even when others were unsure about joining. He spent his early years working on cars with friends like Justin Shearer, and they built their names in the local street racing scene long before cameras arrived. Flip's wife Trisha were involved in a terrifying crash during filming. Both cars lost control, and while JJ escaped with burns and minor injuries, Trisha suffered serious injuries that required a long recovery. Luckily, they both made it and are still very active on TV. As of 2025, JJ Dawboss remains a prominent figure in Street Outlaws. He continues to race, mentor younger drivers, and build his legacy as one of the most influential leaders in street racing. Murder Nova, whose real name is Sean Ellington, has been a part of Street Outlaws since the very beginning. His partnership with Big Chief made them one of the most feared duos on the streets, and together they helped shape the 405 into the strongest racing crew on the show. Just like many racers on the show, Sean has experienced some ups and downs as well. One of the toughest moments was when his original Murder Nova was wrecked. Still, he refused to quit. He built a new version of the car, stronger and faster, proving his resilience as both a driver and builder. As of 2025, Sean is still associated with the Street Outlaws franchise, though his involvement has evolved. He is no longer a regular competitor on the main show, as he has shifted his focus to other ventures.